Dr. Owen Brink for Blue Ridge Family Practice. What are these 12-step programs that we keep hearing about? Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. There are more 12-step programs than you could shake a stick at, and they all deal with the same underlying disease, addiction. No matter what substance or behavior you're addicted to, it's still the same disease, addiction.
Twelve-step programs such as Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. Addiction encompasses alcohol and all the other drugs that are abused, as well as numerous behaviors. When attending an AA meeting, it's best to introduce yourself as an alcoholic. You may wish to say that drugs were also part of my problem. At an AA meeting, the term addict is generally preferable to alcoholic. Again, the middle of the road term, I'm an alcoholic and drugs are part of my problem, works well in the AA meetings. Crossing the wrong term in the meeting attended may result in some grumbled comments from a member of the group, but if you will recall, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking or using. We're not in these meetings because we're so healthy, so when somebody complains about a term you used, remember that. We're there because we're not all there. There are a variety of other 12-step meetings. There's meetings for Sex and Love Addicts, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous. There are also meetings for the loved ones of the addicted. These meetings often will end with Anon, Al-Anon, Alateen, Narc-Anon, adult children of alcoholics, and CODA, Codependence Anonymous. Codependence is the term used for those who exhibit enabling behavior. This is a form of behavior meant to be helpful, but in the long run is actually harmful for the alcoholic or the addict. This can be thought of as another expression of addiction. That other person is hooked on the emotional state of the addict. They're very enmeshed and codependent on each other. An easy example would be the spouse calling in sick for the hungover alcoholic or addict so he or she does not get in trouble at work. The line between helpful and enabling is a very thin line that seems to move over time. It's very helpful to have another person who is not emotionally invested, a sponsor in the Anon program, to help the addict or the loved one of the addict to navigate and determine the best course of action in various aspects of the disease of addiction, codependence, and the interaction with their beloved. I cannot say this enough. There's a lot of people who will go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings and will also go to Narc-Anon, alcoholics who go to AA but also go to Al-Anon, and so on, because remember, addiction is a family disease. We're at these meetings because we're not right. Addicts tend to attract other addicts, so chances are you're attracted to these people. Your spouse may be one of these people. Remember that this is a genetic disease. Your parents or your children may be these people. So you're going to react to how they act. It's normal to react to other people. When your reactions are not healthy, it's nice to have somebody who's not emotionally invested in the relationship to be able to give you a little bit of an additional look, another perspective at how things are going with you and your loved one. These meetings for their loved ones also have their own 12 steps, their own sponsors for the family to work with. In a 12-step meeting, there will be the meeting before and the meeting after the meeting where folks hang out and chat. This is an ideal time to share what's going on in a newcomer's life. It's a great time to discuss problems, concerns, and plans to resolve the issues. The newcomer may come in and share with some of the experienced folks in the group, hey, here's what's going on with me, and here's what I plan to do about it. And of course, it may be an absolutely, totally crazy and off-the-wall solution because remember, we've got our distorted perceptions. We're doing the best we can to make decisions with these distorted perceptions. So after the other people standing around pick themselves up off the ground and stop laughing, then they may be able to give you some truly good advice that you would probably not have thought of any other way. Typically, the longer a person has been sober or clean, the better their overall mental and emotional health is. It's a good idea to attend meetings where there's as much long-term sobriety as possible. Some of these meetings can have hundreds of years of sobriety collectively in each meeting. If you've got 20 attendees with 5 years of sobriety each, that's 100 sober years. Same as 5 attendees with 20 years sobriety each. Ideally, the most long-term sobriety is the one that's preferred. Often there's more long-term sobriety in AA meetings than there will be in NA meetings. That's not an absolute, but it is seen. At the same time, triggers to relapse will be different between the two groups. There will be differences between addictions to various substances and activities. It's best to include the meeting best suited to any given person's predominant addiction, but it might not be a bad idea to dip your toe into some of the other meetings from time to time as well. Many folks have multiple addictions. Remember, if you're an addict and you prefer using, say, heroin, you still cannot safely drink. You can likely cross-addict. Cross-addiction refers to stopping the use of one addiction only to pick up on another. When an addict stops using a certain drug, that does not mean it's okay to use other emotional or mind-altering substances or behaviors. Cross-addicting to another substance or behavior is a very real danger. Even if the opiate addict who hates alcohol could very easily become an alcoholic if they dabble in using alcohol occasionally. Those addiction circuits we talked about earlier in your brain, they're still there. The dopamine feel-good transmitter is still ready to be released in the nucleus accumbens. It's still the final common outcome neurotransmitter for all of these addictive behaviors and substances. Remember that. As important as meetings and sponsorship are, they wouldn't be much good without the full 12 steps of the recovery program.